Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our SpeakOut series. My name is Rally Chekharova, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bolt Foundation and the moderator for today's HVAC career discussion. The Bolt Foundation has a very simple but important mission to inspire the next generation of construction professionals right here in the Greater Toronto Area. One way to do that is to ensure that young people have the information they need to choose a career that they're passionate about and that they can be successful in. This new series facilitates discussions on the in-demand careers in construction and how young people can get started. Each panel is made up of industry professionals, including union reps, employers, and apprentices, to provide useful insight into the education and training requirements, physical demands, what to expect day to day, and advancement opportunities within the specific construction career. I want to acknowledge and thank our series sponsor, RBC Future Launch, for their generous support of this important initiative to help close the information gap and get more youth interested in construction careers. Let's hear from our sponsors now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Beckles, and I'm the Vice President of Social Impact and Innovation here at RBC. Today, youth are the most unemployed age group in Canada, with almost 800,000 young Canadians not currently in employment, education, or training. Canada's skilled tradespeople that have long been the backbone of our economy are more critical than ever, and so is solving this sector's main challenges: the underrepresentation of women and immigrants, the need to double down on digital training, and the ongoing stigmas around trades careers. And while these challenges are significant, so are the opportunities. Through the RBC Future Launch partnership with Bolt, we aim to ensure that you understand what opportunities are available in the skilled trades industry and how to get started in a career that you are passionate about. Because at RBC, we see a future in your future.
Today's discussion focuses on careers in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or commonly known as HVAC. This is the third mechanical career we'll be featuring, and you can find the episodes on electrical and plumbing careers on Bolt's YouTube channel. A few housekeeping notes before we meet our panel. If you're having issues with your stream, click here to refresh stream under the video player to view our alternate stream. If you're having any technical issues, click on the help button on the lower right corner of the webcast page. Your help request will be emailed back to the email address you provided. To ask a question at any time, simply click on the Questions tab and click on the Questions button. A new window will open to type in your questions, and we will try to get through as many as we can. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at what a career in HVAC looks like on a high-rise residential site.
The HVAC crew installs the systems that supply and exhaust air throughout the building. This crew includes sheet metal workers, HVAC technicians, and controls and building automation technicians. One of the first steps for the HVAC technicians is to install one of these, a fan coil in each condo unit. These fan coils are connected to a system of pipes carrying hot water to heat the air and to another set of pipes carrying cold water to cool the air. The sheet metal workers assemble and install a system of ductwork like this to carry the hot or cool air to each room throughout a condo unit. To exhaust the humid air from the bathrooms, the cooking aromas from the kitchen, and the hot humid air from the clothes dryer, the sheet metal crew installs exhaust ductwork in each unit to connect to the outside through these fittings called window boxes. The HVAC crew must be able to read and understand all of the symbols and notes on the mechanical engineer's drawings for the size of all of the ducts and all the fittings that are specified. In the rest of the building, the HVAC crew follows the drawings and installs ductwork and various kinds of HVAC equipment to supply air to the hallways, the stairwells, and to the underground parking, etc. After the drywall work and the painting is done, it's usually an apprentice that returns to each room to finish up by installing one of the different kind of grills that are specified. The controls and building automation technicians install the thermostats, sensors, and controls so that they can start and test all of the equipment and systems.
With that great visual of the work, let's meet our industry panel. Warren, let's start with you. Please tell us about your role, your organization, and how you got started in this career.
Okay, well, I'm the Director of Training here at Local 285. Local 285 is a residential sheet metal union. We have about, well, I think it's over 90 signatory contractors right now. We have contractors out in Ottawa, all across the GTA, and my job is basically to organize the classes, make sure people are getting their schooling done, night school, day school, safety training, all that sort of stuff. And through COVID, it's been pretty tough, but pretty good in the long run. I started the trade a little over 30 years ago. I had no idea what sheet metal was. I was just directed to a job. They said they're looking for somebody, and I went in there and I started. And at first, being an apprentice, I was doing menial jobs, and I wasn't real happy, to be honest with you. Very fortunately, there was the other apprentice in the shop that actually quit, and I had to do some really fast learning. I did my apprenticeship and became a licensed sheet metal worker. About 10 years after that, they asked me to instruct night school. I started doing that for, I can't remember how many years, a good 5 or 10 years, and I guess they figured I wasn't going to go anywhere, so they put me on for day school, and we were doing the day school Friday, Saturday program. We started doing it full time, and I ended up being the full-time instructor and eventually became the Director of Training. So been around for, like I say, a little over 30 years, and it really has been a very rewarding career overall.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Dave, we'll go over to you next.
Yeah, my name's Dave Cranston. I'm the field supervisor with Cooltech Air Systems, a member of Local 285. I manage the labor to get the jobs done on the high-rise sector and the odd low-rise sector. I've been doing it approximately 36 years. Like Warren, I just stumbled into this via my brother. I ran out of money when I was 22 years old one summer, and he said, join the union. I joined the union, and I've been with Cooltech for 36 years now. I've never looked back. It's been a fantastic career. I think more people should be directed to the trades because every sector is suffering. We don't have enough youth getting into it, and this program is phenomenal, bringing good people to the trades.
Thanks so much, Dave. Valerie, we'll go over to you next.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Valerie. I'm with UA Local 787. We are the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration mechanics and controls techs of all of Ontario. We are one of 2 province-wide unions. We have work everywhere in Ontario. So how did I get into this trade? It's a fun question. When I was younger, I could answer the most important question I think that everybody should ask themselves, which is, what don't you want to do? When I was able to find out what I didn't want to do for the rest of my life, I sought after a counselor and said, here's all my answers to what I don't want to do, but I want something really cool. And directed me into being a refrigeration mechanic. So now 22 years later, it has been the most rewarding, the best career decision I've ever made in my entire life. I'm absolutely in love with my job. My current position is now I am a controls integration specialist, and I've worked my way from heating tech to heating and AC, working on mostly plants. When you get into plants, they're very complex systems. We have steam generation, we have chillers, we have, you name it. There's so many different machines. The technology these days is so wonderful and amazing. It's every single day is a challenge. Every single day, most of the time, is rewarding. It's always rewarding when you find out what's wrong. So I've been a service technician. Now, at this part in my career, I've started doing construction. So it's a little bit backwards. A lot of people start with construction and then get into service. I was into service, and now I'm into construction and service. So I do about a 50-50. So in this trade, we are, as I said, we're Ontario wide. We have contractors in Sudbury, Thunder Bay, Ottawa, all the way down to Niagara, Currently today I'm on the Bruce Peninsula, so you can actually be anywhere. I work for a company which is all over North America. We are leaders in CO2 technology, which is using CO2 as refrigerants to heat and cool. It's just, like I said, the technology out there is absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll definitely dive deeper into that as well later on. And to wrap up our panel is Mohammed. Mohammed, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mohammed Abibu, and I'm a first-year sheet metal apprentice working for Ben Air Systems. I'm also a part of Local 285. And for me, getting into the trades without having any construction experience at all and not knowing anyone in the trades was a bit rough at first. I started with applying to companies for about a month or two, and I wasn't having any luck. So then I got home, and then I seen a flyer on my door. It was a boat flyer that a boat's Day of Discovery. So I applied to that, and then after I got into Day of Discovery, boat then recommended me to do a 2-week job shadowing, where that delved deeper into specific trades that you wanted to go into, and that's where I kind of fell in love with doing sheet metal. After asking questions with the tradespeople I met at the job site, after asking questions and figuring out more about sheet metal, I fell in love with it, and then that's where I figured out sheet metal was for me. Finally, Bolt recommended me to apply to Hammerheads, and with their help, I managed to get a spot in Group 46. I was happy because I knew that if you graduated from Hammerheads, you were guaranteed a career in the trade. And here I am now as a sheet metal worker working a high rise. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And we're so proud of you getting started and finding something that you love. That's what it's all about. So thank you all for those great introductions. I think it really shows the diversity in the industry and how much advancement there is and opportunity to pursue your passion and what you're good at. So I'd love to dive into a broader discussion here. And we've already received lots of questions from the audience. And the first one that I'd like to start with that we hear very often is, I want to pursue a career in HVAC. So let's unpack that a little, because there's obviously a number of different options, and we'd love to talk about each one of them and then talk about what the difference is between them. So Warren, let's start with you again. What does a sheet metal worker actually do, and how does that relate to HVAC? Oh, Warren, we seem to have lost your sound there.
Working yet, or?
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. There you are.
Okay, sorry about that. It's now I lost my train of thought. Shoot. Okay. We're one of the few trades that actually starts from raw material. So we start with a flat sheet of metal. Well, first, building gets designed. Got to look over the plans, and Dave will know you can't go by the plans 100%. Quite often, you have to get out to the job and actually start doing some measuring as the building's being built. But we start with a flat piece of metal, and then we have to fabricate the majority of our materials, all our ductwork. So the unit will get put in place, then we'll start attaching different fittings. I did actually bring one up here. So from a flat sheet, I don't know how well this shows up, but this is just a sample of a fitting that we have to lay out, form, and fabricate. We do that with the bulk of our material, and a lot of times things get changed on the job site, and we have to change sizes and dimensions. But once it's all fabricated, it gets shipped out to the job, and then it all starts to get installed. So it starts getting hooked up to the units, and the air has to go to wherever it needs to go in the building. Has to be placed right, the diffusers, the registers, and all these different components all have to be placed properly in the building in order to get the right amount of air, get the right amount of supply air. We also have to exhaust air from each room, depending on the building, what the application is. And it just, that's a small breakdown, but it actually ends up getting a lot more complicated when you're actually on the job. But that really simplifies.
No, for sure. That's incredible. I loved the piece that you showed that's all manufactured from a flat piece of sheet metal. Valerie, let's go to you next. What does an HVAC mechanic and gas technician do, and how is that sort of different or complementary to the sheet metal side of it?
Okay, so HVAC is heating. So there's your gas technician. Ventilation, which is your sheet metal. Thank you to the sheet metal workers for providing us means to get the conditioned air to the spaces and occupants. The AC is for air conditioning. A lot of times it's actually called an HVAC-R, and the R is for refrigeration. So the heating is obviously a gas technician. So that could be working with boilers, hot water tanks, any type of heating, anything that you can use, any one of the natural gases or propane, depending on your level of certification, which would depend on which heating source you can work with. I'm also an oil burner, so I could work with oil systems. Then there's the ventilation. So thanks to the ductwork again, we need that. Then we get into the AC and refrigeration. So AC and refrigeration are the same yet totally different. So in all buildings you have to cool them down, you have to heat them up. Could be any time of the year. A lot of the times in grocery stores, for instance, we heat while we cool, and that's for dehumidification. So it's a fun balance of knowing your machines and mechanical systems. And as we're talking in high rises, so every high rise will have large boilers, probably 3 to 4 million BTU boilers that would provide the heating. You'd probably have maybe about 3 million BTU boilers to provide the hot water. Then you would have an air conditioning system by means of a chiller, like a water source chiller. So you will have a cooling tower on the roof, a very large chiller in the mechanical room, usually around the roof deck area. So these components we're moving water, and then we'll move water down to each one of those units, and therefore disperse the heating or the cooling with means of fans and whatnot. So it's a very complex system, yet very simple, because everything comes down to 4 components. So as much as I can talk about, like I said, the technology and everything with how we harvest heat, how we repurpose the heat, how we can use the heat for generation of power, how we can use heat for, pretty much anything. It's really, really amazing. So there's your HVAC in a group.
Perfect. Sounds great. And we do have a supplementary question here, and that has to do with welding. So is there welding in both sides of that? Is just to one? Warren, why don't we start with you? Do those pieces of metal get welded together or fit in? I'll leave it over to you.
Well, it depends on the size of the job. Certain ductwork, a lot bigger, a lot higher pressures in it, definitely has to be welded. At 285, not as much welding, but if you're doing the ICI, the industrial, commercial, and institutional, a lot more welding involved in there. I did 10 years actually in the ICI sector, and quite a bit of welding on that side of it. For our side of it, quite often you have to weld up different brackets to hold units and other equipment like that. But we still have, we introduced them to welding in our school. We get their feet wet in it, but not enough to get a welding ticket. But we get them used to it, so they could do the little bit of welding they need to do here. But like I said, they're not licensed welders. So I think Valerie has a lot more welding than we do.
Yeah, Valerie, we'll go over to you.
In our trade, there is a lot of, I'm going to do the quotations of welding, because we do silver solder, soldering, brazing, we do welding. If you're interested in the welding career, you're going to find that all of these are a basic welding, except with the difference of different temperatures. We use different alloys. So it depends on what it is that we're doing. We could be replacing a compressor. We could be building panels. We could be doing pipes. Gosh, there's so many times. I can't tell you how many times I've used my torches. And Yeah, so it's really great. With our companies, we are in our training, we have a welding certificate. And then when you're hired on with the company, you will be most likely having to do a welding test for the company. And that depends on what that company is doing. Like I said, we have so many different types of welding with different temperatures, different alloys. So it has to be the company that you work for is actually licensed and certified, and then all of their technicians would be licensed and certified underneath that to be able to work under those. Some of our guys, we can be welding stainless steel, in medical applications to, just like water pipes, sewers, whatever. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. I think you definitely answered that question with a resounding yes. So, Mohammed, we'll go over to you. You're in your first year of sheet metal apprenticeship. Can you tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like?
Well, I quickly figured out that my day-to-day changes a lot. There's not one specific thing I'm doing for the day. One day I'll be piping, one day I'll be sealing duct, another day I could be insulating garbage chutes. So the most important thing for me is just to be ready for any scenario on that given day. That's about it.
That's great. It's great that you're getting so much diversity of the work so early on. Dave.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's important to learn everything about it. So you do a lot of things in your first year. And I try to take as much as I can from each activity that I do or each task I'm given.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Dave, we'll go over to you and shift gears a little bit. So we've heard a little terminology, so I'd love to hear from you. You're an employer in the space now. Can you tell us what an apprenticeship is and how someone can be successful in it? What are some of the attributes or skills that you've noticed make someone successful?
An apprenticeship is usually 9,000 hours over the period of 5 years normally. You do get credit for work experience if you have some, or education, depending on the level, as long as it's related to the trade. So you're doing about 1,800 hours a year, and you'll start at 40% of a journeyman's wage package, and then every 1,800 hours you'll get a raise. To be successful, I tell all the apprentices, like Mohammed, you'll get out of it what you put into it. So if this is just a job, like it was a part-time job when you delivered newspapers, you probably won't succeed too far up the chain. If you put some effort into it and show some, I want to do this for a career, because this is a career. This is what you're going to do for the next 40 years of your life. You'll go places. It's hard work, and most places are rewarding hard work because there's very few people willing to put it forward these days. And it's a good process. There's education. Warren, through the union, has night school classes. So you'll do 3 night school classes over those 5 years, and you'll also do 3 8-week terms at the training center. Basic, intermediate, and advanced. I believe the advanced now has a preparation course for your final exam, and Warren's done a fantastic job getting these young kids prepared for that final exam. Our success is in passing that exam is climbing every month. It's great to see, and the young people are putting the effort in, and it's evident that Warren's work, along with the apprentice work, if you do it and you take the time and put in the effort, you'll succeed.
That's such great advice. And it's one of the things I personally really like about the skilled trades, which is that earn while you learn, that you get to have the hands-on experience that, for example, Mohammed is having on site, as well as the school experience to advance and build on that knowledge. So that was fantastic. Thank you, Dave. Warren, we'll come back to you because Dave did talk about the pay structure, and I think everybody wants to know what that is like. So tell me what that pay structure is. What's the average starting salary? What's the earning potential? And how does it change as someone progresses through their apprenticeship?
Yeah, well, Dave, did start into that, which was great. You start as a first-year apprentice, and your total package, because you do have benefits and pension plan, which is very important. The earlier you can start with that pension plan, the better off you are. So Mohammed pretty young guy, and he's starting off at a great age to have a nice pension when he retires. But the hourly rate roughly for a first-year apprentice starts at about $23 an hour. That's your hourly rate, plus we have 10% vacation pay, and we have a hourly premium rate. So all that all together totals about $23 an hour. Then as you, like Dave was saying, you finish your 1,800 hours, you may have been credited some hours for work experience, for high school education. So you may have a little bit less than 1,800 hours to complete your first year. But you'd move up to the second year rate, and the dollar value of that is in around just over $28. So within 1,800 hours, you're up to 28. Same thing, pension goes up, your benefits are there, and we all love to have benefits for sure. Definitely helps out in our lives. I've heard other people talk, and I even tell the apprentices, if you haven't been to the dentist in a while, as soon as your benefits kick in, look after yourself. That's very important, right? And that's why the unions are phenomenal, in my opinion, because they do look after their membership, and that's great. And then it keeps going up. I don't know if you want me to go through each one, but they're all 1,800 hours, and they go up 10% each time. So third year rate, you're in just under $34 an hour. Fourth year rate, you're just under $40 an hour. Fifth year rate, you're up to $44 an hour. And then once you get your CFQ, you get a 20% increase. And the journey person's rate, you're looking at about $54 an hour, $55 an hour, which is, I was surprised when I got in the trade and I realized how much money I could make. It was incredible. The unions, I love them. I have never had to ask for a raise or anything like that. I remember when I was working just a regular job and you had to ask for a raise, you're going into somebody's office with your tail between your legs and, begging and pleading. And these rates are great. Now, the work is hard, a lot of physical labor, okay? A lot to be aware of, like Mohammed's learning. One day isn't the same as the next. You're constantly learning. You constantly have to change, evolve, which makes it a great career. That's what I found fantastic is even after I had my CFQ, I did a ton of learning after that, and I'm still learning. And that's the part I enjoy most is all the people you get to work with, all the people you get to meet. The mentorship, even Mohammed, very soon as an apprentice, he'll be mentoring other apprentices, as they come up. Sorry, got off topic there, which a lot of times us instructors do. And Dave gave a lot of credit to me, but I do have a great staff too that looks after everything here, and they are fantastic. We do stay late, come in early, help out the apprentices, whatever issue they're having. If they're having issues with the CFQ, we're here. We got tons of questions to walk through. But like I say, the staff here is phenomenal. And I'm sure it's like that with a lot of other unions. We are dedicated to our membership. And that's what's very important. And even on the job side, I find a lot of people look out for each other, which is very important. And I hear a lot of stories. And again, you asked me about the rate. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. So, but I hope that helps out.
Absolutely, it does. And those are some great numbers you were throwing out there. And I love what you said about not having to, I don't think many people realize that it's so structured like that. You don't have to go and negotiate your salary or beg for a promotion or a pay increase. You just have to work for it, which I think is a great model. Dave, let's come back to you. Can you tell us what the average hours are during the day and for the week? And then talk a little bit more about the different sectors that individuals can work in. Oh, Dave, sorry, you're on mute.
Typically, it's an 8-hour workday, 15-minute break in the morning, half an hour for lunch, and most everybody takes the afternoon 15-minute break and works through that so they can leave early. At 40 hours a week. That's typically it. The sectors, we are with 285, we're a residential union, so we will do low rise, we will do high rise. The odd time, depending on the footprint, there's a small commercial component that we can undertake as long as the square footage of residential is, there's a percentage they work on. So we'll do the odd kitchen duct. We were asked about welding. We're currently doing a kitchen welded duct right now, and we have to actually outsource the welder. we have to go and hire a welder. So that would be something, if you are a welder, you get on the right. Local 30 would be the sheet metal union that does a lot of the welding on their sites. That's pretty much it.
Perfect. And Local 30 is it fair to call it a sister union to 285 that just works in the industrial, commercial, institutional sector?
Yes, they are. They look after that. Local 30. Yeah, we're all part of the same brotherhood, I guess you want to call that. Warren probably answer that more in detail.
I would just like to mention that training for the ICI sector and 285 is exactly the same. So no matter which one you get started in, you can make the jump to the other one for a change if you would like, or if one sector is a little bit slow and you want to go to the other one. The training is all the same, other than they do have a lot more licensed welders there, but they do separate training to get their welding license. But other than that, it's a nice, you're open to ICI, you're open to the residential, so it is actually fantastic to get your sheet metal license.
That's great to hear. Thank you guys so much. Valerie, let's go back to you for a moment here. And I think it's not a secret that women are still very underrepresented in the construction skill trades. Can you tell me more about your experience as a woman in this profession, and if you would recommend it to other women?
I would completely recommend this to other women. Since joining the union at the beginning of my journey, it has been everything you could ever want. My brothers, and now I have some sisters, so it's really great and exciting. So when I started out, there was 4 of us in training. Unfortunately, not everybody completed. I think a couple of them went into a different trade. They just found that, hey, I actually like this part more. You know what? In the trades, it's hard work. Yes. And they're probably, everybody, you're going to hear this. It's hard work, but it is so rewarding. And if you've got the right attitude, it's the same as any other job. It really, truly is. Everything does come down to your attitude, right? So, I don't know, you could probably tell that I completely love my trade. I love my job. I love everything that I do. And I know that it's infectious. I take this very seriously. I'm very focused. I take the time whatever the job is, I just take the time. We get to the bottom of it. We'll find out, we'll figure it out. Every person I've ever worked with we're part of a team. There's no me in team, or no I in team, sorry, there's me, because me is there. Women bring something different to this trade. So women have an attention to detail. Somebody told me that years ago, and it is so true how there's certain things that I possess naturally that are utilized by my companies that I've worked for. It allows me to bring something different. I'm not as strong as some people, but I will lift the other end. So you have to be able and willing to work with it. But really, you're going to be treated equally, just like everybody else. I actually don't find that there's any real issues in this trade that I work in. Talking with other women in this trade, we don't have a lot of issues. It's really good. If you go into the residential side, customers actually will start to request the women, or they'll call the companies with a woman, and it's because women are home a lot and they would feel more comfortable. So like I said, we bring something different to the trade. We open doors in the trade. We open doors for our customers. We open doors for other, for the people, all the women behind us, diversity, everything. I 100%, I try to encourage it as much as possible because it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's fantastic, and I love what you said about the different skill set that you can just you can focus on, and that's what you can bring to the table. And I didn't hear Warren say apprentice woman or apprentice man, so that pay equity in the apprenticeship, I think, is also something that many people don't realize. Warren, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just like to add, because unfortunately I have heard, and not being a woman, but there are some issues out there, but there is a construction tradeswomen group out there where they all get together and discuss. So there is supports out there. So I don't want anybody to be hesitant thinking, oh, it's a male dominated trade. What am I going to do? Yes, there's a lot of women out there supporting each other, and they get together regularly, and they talk about the issues, whether it's on Zoom or real life, So I think that's fantastic, because yes, we want to be equal and we want to have as many people as we can. And I think David mentioned, well, I think we all know the trades are a little suffering right now. We need the people in the boots, and out on the jobs. So I don't want any women to think, oh no, it's all males and it's going to be rough and it's going to be this. If you do run into issues, there are groups up there, and the union supports 100%. You're more than welcome, and we want to see you in the trades.
Well, that's a great place for a plug for OBC Tradeswomen, who has information sessions, meetings, professional development courses, and just, generally a very welcoming environment where skilled tradeswomen can get together and support each other and advance in the industry. So they're a fantastic partner of ours. So I'm happy for the opportunity to plug them in. Thanks, Warren. Mohammed, let's talk about your experience. What did you find most challenging as you were getting started in your apprenticeship, and what do you look forward to as you progress through it?
What I found most challenging is the cuts you get and can give other people whenever you make burrs in your metal. So basically, burrs are sharp pieces of metal that stick out when you improperly cut metal. So, and they happen a lot when you're starting out, especially for me. I don't want anyone to get hurt because of my mistakes. So it's frustrating to know that I still make burrs, and that's something I'm working on, and that's something I'm looking forward to getting rid of. As I progress through my apprenticeship, I'm always looking to ask questions. Even repeating questions to different journey persons is really important as an apprentice, because everyone has their own unique way of doing things. So getting different ways, different techniques, and then picking out what you feel comfortable with is super important for you. That's
great. That's great advice, and I love. It sounds like nobody's going to put more pressure on you than you're already putting on yourself. So it's great to see that you're looking to perfect that side of your trade, and I have no doubt that you will soon enough with enough practice. This next question is to all of you, and it's personal favorite of mine just because we hear so many of them. So I'd love to ask you to mention something about a career in HVAC that you had heard about, so a stereotype that turned out to be completely wrong. So this could be something that you thought was something about the trade, or a family and friends thought, oh, I thought you just did this all day. So maybe Valerie, we'll start with you, and then we'll give everybody a chance to share.
I think the one thing I heard the most when I started was a lot of people said, you can't do this. You're going to have to think, and it's heavy. You can't do this. And I think that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
I think you proved them wrong.
Yeah. Because I thought, well, why can't I think? Like, why can't I work? Why can't I lift? Why can't I figure it out? If everybody else can figure it out, why can't I? So early on in my journey, I adopted an attitude that no one's allowed to tell me no. There's not now and maybe later, but only I can tell me no. So it's my choice when I'm at that threshold. It's not anybody else's choice. So that's one of the things that a lot of people will hear, because there is a lot of, again with the quotations, but there's a lot of stigma out there. Yes, there is. But make mom.
Well, I love that. So Jay, we'll go over to you about a stereotype you thought or friends and family thought.
When I first got into it, The thing with HVAC is a lot of our work you never see. You walk into a home, it's heated, it's cooled by Valerie and her team, and we deliver the air to the rooms that you're sitting in comfortably. And you don't really see our work because it's covered. You walk through a shopping mall, it's tucked behind drywalls underneath the ceiling tiles. So I always, as an apprentice like Mohammed years ago, whenever I was down at Maple Leaf Gardens or wherever you were and had exposed ductwork, that's when I took the time to show friends and family, hey, that's what I do. I do it a little better than that. But yeah, our stuff's always hidden. You know, the plumbing, you touch a tap, water comes out. You see what a plumber does. Electrically, we plug our computer into the wall. We saw what the electrician did. HVAC is, you walk into your refrigerator, freezers at Costco, it's cold. Well, Valerie had to do that work. Somebody had to deliver that refrigerant. And our work in the HVAC industry, I think, goes unnoticed because it's unseen. It's just something that we take for granted. And you don't really see our work. Like Mohammed's trying to do a great job and do, nice work. And the only person that sees it's him. And it's nice that he has that attitude because that's the attitude you have to have. Take pride in what you're doing, regardless of who sees it. You know it's behind that drywall.
That's such a good point. And I personally, I have a whole new appreciation about all the building trades because you start looking around your house. And as you said, somebody has done all of this, which is really something to think about and really appreciate. Mohammed, we'll go with you and then we'll end with Warren on this question. So a stereotype you or family thought about this work.
A stereotype I heard about sheet metal is that it's an easier trade. Like there's not too much heavy lifting, which is not true. Definitely not true. Bundles of pipe are pretty heavy, and I have to carry a lot of them throughout the day. And it's hard work, honestly. You got to put in. I get tired. I'm pretty tired when I get home. So yeah, it is hard work. It's definitely not easy, but it's gonna be rewarding. It is rewarding, actually.
That's a really good point as well. Warren, we'll give you the last word on this one.
All right, I'll share this story, but a long time ago, I was out to dinner with a girl I was going with and her friend and their boyfriend, and he made a comment that struck a nerve with me. He mentioned something about the boneheads that go to trade school. And, that got me going. And I said, look, buddy, you drive across bridges, you go up elevators, you turn on switches, you breathe the air that these boneheads provide. You put your life in their hands every single day. Not one of those boneheads has ever put their life in your hands. Peter got quiet after that, but the trades are very important, and it is true. If we don't hang that ductwork properly and it falls down, somebody's going to get hurt. If we don't do our jobs properly, we're not going to get the right mixed air temperature in this room or the right outside air, and people are going to get sick. COVID has proven that to us. All these trades are so important to our daily living. And, we're not in an operating room, but in some ways we are saving lives and we are protecting people, and our jobs are very, very important. So we need to be on the ball. We need to be smart. And I always tell our guys, we're the last line of defense. If the engineer did something wrong, we need to catch it before something happens. So we need to read the specs on those bolts we're using, those tap cons, the list goes on and on and on. We have to have a good understanding of everything we do or something may go wrong.
So I couldn't agree more. And I'll keep you in the hot seat here for a moment because I think this is a great transition into, we heard about what these careers look like. I think we have a better understanding of what they entail and the differences between each. So now I really want to talk about how do young people get there? So Warren, what do you look for when you're assessing new applicants to join the union? Are there basic requirements? Do they need a high school diploma or certain math level? If you can talk a little bit about that.
But we always recommend a high school diploma because that is so important. I know a lot of people, I was one, I wasn't really thrilled in high school, but it's so important to learn to get along with people, just learn to get assignments done, and math skills are also very important. I mean, we'll work with you with the math and everything else you need, but although it's not a prerequisite, you don't need a grade 12, we highly recommend it. We occasionally do get a few people applying that are finishing up high school and they want to get, when we tell them, you know what, finish your high school first, and then we'll take a good look at you. But our process is, we do have an application process. You fill out the application, and like Dave was mentioning earlier, any trade-related experience, if you're mechanically inclined, that helps out definitely. High school is definitely a plus over somebody who doesn't have high school. Higher education, again, is another plus because it shows that you're dedicated to things, you're getting things done. Then we have a aptitude test, which has math, reading comprehension, spatial awareness, understanding, being able to look at, not quite as complicated as this, but being able to look at something and figure out, well, which side is this? And if I look at it this way, what does it look like? Got to have an understanding of real life 3D and different things and all the different aspects because you're reading off the plans. So we have the aptitude test, and after that's done, very important, we have the interview process and how you present yourself, your eagerness, are you on time for the interview is a huge one. If you can't be on time for an interview for a job that's going to change your life, well, then we kind of think you probably won't be very good at work. Presenting yourself well and eagerness. We recognize that some people are shy and don't talk and that sort of thing, but we want to hear your passion. We want to know that you really want this. And then when we really see it, after you get that process, we have a 2-week orientation where we do all the safety training. We do some hands-on work in the shop. We do your scissor lift training, chainsaw, because that's part of our low rise is you could be doing rough-ins, you need to operate a chainsaw. Your WMIS, your 4-step awareness, which is very important. We got to understand these job sites are very dangerous. So when we're doing our 2-week orientation, we're looking for people. They're paying attention. Are they following instructions? Because you're on a job site and you're not paying attention, you're not following instructions, it can be very, very dangerous. So we're looking for all these things, but a willingness to learn and eager to learn is very, very important. So, if I see somebody, if they come into the interview and they look half asleep, well, I don't want to see that on a job site. And that's what you're showing me right off the bat. So, we're probably not going to pick you. But all those things are important. But like I say, I can work with anybody who really wants to learn and really wants to work hard. I can work with them, no problem. But the people who just see those numbers and think, well, hey, I want that kind of money, but aren't willing to work for it. That's where we run into a little bit of an issue. And sometimes they get in and, they start working, they realize it is really hard work, and then they filter out. But that's basically what we're looking for.
No, that's such a great overview, and I love how much you focused on attitude and willingness to work and advance yourself in that. And I'll put a little bit of a test question here to Mohammed. I want to ask him what being on time means.
Being on time means being at least 15 minutes early to the job site.
Good job, you passed.
Thank you.
Fantastic, thanks, Valerie. I'd love to come to you now and hear from you if those requirements are any different for becoming an HVAC technician. How does someone obtain their gas technician license? If you can talk a little bit about that side of things.
Okay. So for your AC and refrigeration, you would contact the ORAC, the Ontario Refrigeration Apprenticeship Committee. They are the ones who are managing all of the intakes at least for 787 that I'm aware of. So we work very closely with them a lot. Same thing, we have grade 12 advanced math and science. This is very mathematical. This is very sciencey because we deal with gases. And for the gas technician, so see, right now I believe that it's in the works with TSSA to become its own apprenticeship, but it just hasn't been implemented yet. Once it becomes its own apprenticeship, again, that will probably be a 9,000 hours, 5 years apprenticeship. Currently, right now, you can take a gas 3 or gas level 3. We call it a G3. And that will allow you to work with anything under 400,000 BTUs under the direct supervision of a G2 technician. Then as a G2 technician, you can work up to 400,000 BTUs alone. Anything over that would be under the direct or indirect supervision of a G1. And then your G1, which means you can work on anything for natural gas and propane burners. I myself am a G1 and an OBT2, which is an oil burner technician level 2. So I can work up to 7 gallons per minute on oil. So when we talk about a gas technician, it is the H of HVAC, but it is not the same. It's not covered under your basic, intermediate, and advanced. It is additional training. So within your 5 years, you would be, if you wanted to do any gas work, you would be required to get your gas licenses. We do have training at Local 787. We do gas training as well. You can also take it through most of the colleges in Ontario, I believe. Yeah. Most of them. I'm just trying to think. There was a few of them that do some, but they don't actually have the gas training. But
Sure.
yeah, so your AC and refrigeration is the 9,000 hours. But you can come out of that with a 313A or a 313D certificate with a gas. But yeah, you would do that separately.
Yeah, it really sounds like as an add-on, it will really make you more employable as well, taking that on. Warren, anything to add there?
Yeah, big mistake on my part. I'm going to get in trouble when my bosses hear this, but I forgot to mention we have gas fitters organized also in Local 285. And Valerie just reminded me of that. I don't know how that just went over my head. But we also have that sector organized also, so I got to own it. But I want to make sure everybody knows at 285, we also have the residential sector gas fitters organized and working for us also.
That's great to know. I actually didn't know that. So that's great. Great. Thank you for adding that in. We just got another question that I want to sneak in because I think it's an important one when we're talking about the skilled trades and this career in particular. Valerie, you talked a little bit about it at the beginning, and that has to do with the technological component of it. I mean, I have a smart thermostat in my home here. I absolutely love it. I don't know how I lived without it, but I want to know how that technological incorporation looks like from your perspective, Warren, on the training side, Dave and Valerie on site.
Sorry, did you want me to start?
Yeah, Valerie, go ahead.
Okay. So my job now, or my response, I shouldn't say job, my responsibilities now as a controls integration specialist. So what I do is I control things. Right now I'm working with a lot of the refrigeration. So, and we use CO2 in refrigeration a lot, which is a kind of new and up and coming technology. A lot of people are familiar with a smart thermostat, so you can go on your phone and you can do things. When we get into controls, we control a whole bunch of things. We can control so it's kind of this is a really big answer, really. So if it's a chiller, we would do multi-staging. If it's heating, we do multi-staging. In condos, high rises, we'll do the fresh air intakes, exhaust fans. So there's dampers that modulate. We need to make sure that we have, at least 400 CFM per person coming in through that ductwork to provide to certain areas. If it's like a conference center, or if it's a grocery store, or if it's a hospital, or if it's a school, or if it's your house. So there's all of these different aspects that the building automation systems are controlling. And so it can be, yeah. Anyways, it is a very large answer because it can do the most simple things, which is like your home. So in this world, to us, that's very simple. It's one or two stages of heating or cooling. You can do it on your phone. Like right now, I'm away from everywhere, and I can actually pull up a computer and I can pull up a store or a plant and work with the controls. I can work with technicians on site, from not being there. So it's a great way to keep things all under control so that everything keeps working properly. It also is used as I should mention this, most important is your energy efficiency. There's so much green technology out there, and we want to monitor how much amperage we're using. Where can we make improvements on our machines? What's using more amps? What's doing this? So we have an entire integration process that we can offer to all of our customers, even on the residential side. Back in the days, there used to be a little module that they put on your air conditioner to be able to see how much energy you're using in the hot summer days. So these are they're very simple, but they're very complex at the same time.
No, that's fantastic. And I can only imagine how complex all of the automation is, and being able to, remotely work on all of these is just phenomenal. Dave, Warren, any quick answers there before we wrap up with our last question?
In Valerie's hand, that technology is fantastic. And the average homeowners, sometimes it can cause more trouble than it's worth. But yeah, the technologies, it's actually endless, limitless. It's incredible where it's going. As I say, I like people like Valerie set it up, and I just sit back and enjoy it. I'm not a fan of technology myself. It causes me more grief because I can't see the little numbers. But yeah, it is good in the right hands. Let's just say that.
Perfect. No, I love that. And I love that there is, if you like it and if you don't like it, there's options again for both sides. Warren, any last comment on that, on the training side?
Well, yeah, the technology is awesome out there. And, things that are very, very important that we deal with, we call it press duct for the stairways of the apartment buildings and everything. So what it creates is, if there is a fire alarm go off, it creates a positive pressure. So dampers open, like Valerie was saying, under these situations. All of a sudden the air fills up into the stairwells so that the smoke can't get in there and people can get out safely. That's been around for years and years and years, but that's just one thing that I don't know when it came about, but was very, very important. Our systems, again, where you need to cut off in industrial situations, sometimes you need to cut off air going to certain places. Fire dampers, so the fire doesn't spread through the ductwork, from room to room, is very, very important. Make sure they're installed right, make sure they're working properly, and hopefully somebody's out there maintaining them on a regular basis. And that's not really high tech for those ones, but they are important to understand and realize in schools and hospitals and you name it, even in certain homes. You get these custom homes, there's millions of dollars of artwork, and there's all kinds of technology. These custom homes, they got their indoor pools and bowling alleys and theaters, and it gets really integrated for all kinds of different systems. They have so many things in homes now. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And I'll just do a quick summary because I think you both did a great job in terms of what's next for anybody that is looking to get started, is to head over to ORAC website and Local 787 or Smart Local 285, and the application process there is clearly stated, along with the basic requirements, which is great. And then Local 30 as well for those interested in the ICI sector and that side of things. So we're almost out of time, but we do have time for one more question. So I'll give 30 seconds to each of you. And this is a really important one to end off this session. What is your advice to anyone who is interested in pursuing this career? And Mohammed, we'll start with you.
My advice for anyone interested in pursuing sheet metal is to be prepared to get a lot of cuts and nicks when starting out. Everyone at doing sheet metal has gotten a cut or two, but wearing gloves and making sure you don't force fittings together will greatly reduce your chances of being hurt on the job site.
That's really great practical advice. Thank you for that. Dave, we'll go over to you.
Yeah, that's great advice. Anybody getting into the trade, again, you get out what you put in. Work safely, work smartly, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask, because the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. If you're not sure, ask. Never be afraid to ask. Pay attention, and Mohammed touched on it earlier. Ask as many different journeymen their advice. There's more than one way to skin the cat.
I love that. A lot there. Thank you for that, Dave. Warren, over to you.
My advice is go for it. It's been a great career for me. My children have gotten to do things that I couldn't do when I was growing up because we didn't have the money. Be prepared to work hard, put in an honest day's work, learn, and pay attention. It's phenomenal. It is a career. It's something you can enjoy for your entire career. I have, and I don't think I would change anything. I don't think I would want a different job. I've been very productive, and I enjoy everything from even when I started teaching, and even on a job site when I started teaching people, here's how you do this, and here's how you do that, and be careful, don't do that, I love going to our annual Christmas party, seeing students that I've taught with their families now. They were single people when they came in through the school, and I get to see them years later with a nice family, and everybody's smiling and happy. And trades are fantastic. The people you're going to meet are great. The jobs are great. I would never change it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And Valerie, we'll give you the last word here.
I think my piece of advice would probably, I want to end in a question. Would you like to work in a job, or would you like to have a career?
Sounds good. Great ending. So that's all the time we had for today. Thank you all for joining us for this episode in the series, and be sure to keep an eye out for our next one that will discuss careers in carpentry. A recording of this discussion will be posted on Bolt's YouTube channel, as well as the SpeakOut page on our website, boltonline.org. I want to once again thank our industry panel who took time out of their very busy days to share their insights, experience, and advice. Thank you all, and have a great one.